Hi, so here's another video going over ACT practice test. This one starts with Marcus's favorite casserole recipe. Requires 3 eggs to make 6 servings. Ooh, this sounds like a proportion problem. Number 1. 3 eggs to make 6 servings. He will modify the recipe by using 5 eggs. How many servings will that make? Well, if I cross multiply, I end up with 3x equals 30, and if I divide by 3, I get x equals 10. 10 servings, and that is choice C. 2. 35-member history club, choosing student government representative. The members decide that the representative cannot be any of the 3 officers. The probability of that Hiroko, who is a member of the club but not an officer, will be chosen. Well, there's 35 members of the club. The officers, there's 3 of them. Oh, so we're not going to include the officers, so now our total is 32. And Hiroko is one of those 32 members, so his chances are 1 in 32 of being picked, which is why K is the answer for number 2. Number 3. What's the value of the equation for x that makes the equation 2 to the 2x plus 7 equals 2 to the 15? Well, since the bases are the same and the terms are equal, these powers must be equal to each other as well. And if I subtract 7 from both sides, I get 2x equals 8, or x equals 4, which is why B is my answer to number 3. 4. 4 says, let the function f of x be defined in this interesting way. What's the value of f of 3? Well, f of 3 means I replace all the x's of f of x with the number 3. So that'll be 5 times 3 squared minus 7, 4 times 3 plus 3. Okay, so I'm going to have 12 plus 3 is 15. And so I'm going to have negative 7 times 15. And over here, I'm going to have 3 squared, or 9, times 5 is 45. So what do we have here? 70 plus 35, that's 105. Taken away from 45, that looks like negative 60 to me. And that's why J is the answer for number 4. Number 5. A wallet containing $5 bill, five $5 bills, 7 $10 bills, and 8 $20 bills is found and returned to the owner. The wallet's owner will reward the finder with 1 bill drawn randomly from the wallet. What is the probability that the bill will be a 20? Well, I heard that there were 8 20s, and how many total bills were there? There were 5 $5, 7 $10, and 8 $20. That's 15 and 5 is 20. And this fraction reduces to 2/5, which is why D is my answer to number 5. Number 6. Monthly fee of $40 plus $2 per book. Okay, so 40 plus 2M. And no, 2B for book. And then the other book club is $35 plus 3. And we want to know when these clubs, how many books must I read in 1 month for the total charges from each club to be equal? So if I subtract 2B, I get 40 equals 35 plus B. And if I subtract 35, I get that B equals 5. And so that's choice H for number 6. And finally, number 7 says you've got a parallelogram, and it looks like this. That's 57 degrees. This is 40 degrees. One of the things we need to know about parallelograms is that opposite angles are congruent. So if this is 40, then this must be 40. And the problem asks us to find angle CAD. So I see a triangle here with 40 and 57 and our unknown angle. So we've used up 97 plus question mark equals 180. If I subtract the 97 we've already used up, question mark is 83 degrees. And that's why D is the answer to number 7. Okay, let's flip the page, take a look at the next set of problems. 8. When x is 1/2, what's the value of 8 times 1/2 minus 3 over 1/2? Well, 8 times 1/2 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. And 1 over 1/2, well, I remember that I'm supposed to think about that as 1 divided by 1/2, or 1 times 2 over 1 for 2, which is why G is the answer for number 8. 9. Standard xy coordinate plane. What is the midpoint if the endpoints are 3, 8 and 1, -4? Well, 3 plus 1 divided by 2, 8 plus -4 divided by 2. So I average the x's and I average the y's to find the x and y coordinate of the midpoint. This gives me 4 over 2. This gives me 4 over 2. So I think the midpoint is located at 2, 2, and that corresponds with choice D. D for number 9. 10. G. Oops, but why? Okay, so it says function of water depth at the pier is shown. One of the following values gives the positive difference in feet between the greatest water depth and the least water depth. Well, the greatest water depth is 12 on the graph, and the least water depth is 6 on the graph, and the difference between the greatest and the least is 6, and that's why G is my answer for 10. 11. What is the slope of the line through -2, 1 and 2, 5? Well, we've had a lot of practice with slope formula in this 0-hour class, and so we know y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. I end up with 4 over 4, or a slope of 1. Now that's completely wrong because I wrote down the wrong number. This is -5, so this is -6, and so this is -3/2, and that's choice D. D for number 11. Don't forget to check your signs. 12. 12 says, Cherokee County, a fine for speeding is $17 for each mile an hour over the posted speed limit. Kirk was fined $221 for speeding on the road posted at 30 miles an hour. Okay, was fined for traveling at what speed? Okay, well, we know that $17 for each mile is how that fine is come up with. So if we divide each side by 17, we end up with 13. So he was going 13 miles an hour over the speed limit. So the speed limit was 30 plus 13. That's 43 miles an hour, and that's why choice H is my answer for 12. 13. What is the sum of the solutions to the two equations below? 8x equals 12, 2y plus 10 equals 22. Well, let's take this top equation first. We'll divide both sides by 8, and I'll get 12 over 8, or 3 over 2. And then this equation, I'm going to subtract 10. I'm going to get 2y equals 12 or y equals 6. So we're supposed to be finding the sum of the two solutions. 6 plus 3 halves, or 12 halves plus 3 halves is 15 halves, which is 7.5. And that corresponds with choice B for number 13. 14. The average of 5 scores the same value as the median of the 5 scores. Interesting. The sum of the 5 scores is 420. What is the sum of 4 scores not the median? Well, let's see. We know there's this sum divided amongst 5 scores gives us the mean. And that sum, they told us, was 420. Well, 420 divided by 5 is 84. So I know the mean is 84. And I know there are 5 numbers, so 2 of them will be above, like 85 and 86, and 2 will be below, like 83 and 82. So if we add up all of these, we should get 420. 80, 80, 80, 80, 80, that's 400, 411, 415, 418, 420. Good. We take out the mean, and then we add these up. So 420 minus 84, I'm left with 336. 336, and that's choice H. I did this also with, once I found the mean of 84, 86, 88, 82, and 80, because they're all evenly spaced about that median of 84. And yep, the mean is still 420. So this is a thoughtful problem, but I hope not an impossible problem for you. Okay, let's move on to the next board with problem number 15. 15 says, what's the value of the expression? Please note the exterior set of absolute value bars. And then there's interior absolute value bars. So negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4. 3 minus 6 is negative 6. And then here, absolute value of negative 4 is 4, and absolute value of negative 6 is 6. And so I get the absolute value of 4 minus 6, or negative 2, which is 2, which is why D is my answer for number 15. If you miss these outermost absolute values, you're likely to choose choice B, which would be wrong. So be careful with what you see. Okay, which of the following expressions is equivalent for number 16 to x to the 2/3? Well, that's the same thing as x squared to the 1/3, and that's the same as the cube root, that's x to the 1/3, and under that cube root is x squared. So this is choice K. K for number 16. 17. In the standard xy coordinate plane, what is the slope of the line given by 4x equals 7y plus 5? Well, we know if we can get y equals form, we can read the slope off the graph, off the equation. So let's solve this equation here for y. That means I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. I'm going to get 4x minus 5 equals 7y. And then I'm going to divide everywhere by 7. So y equals 4/7 x minus 5/7, and my slope would be 4/7, which corresponds to choice, where is it? There it is, B. B for number 17. How about 18? 18 says, for which of the following conditions would the sum of the integers m and n always be odd? Always odd. Okay, m is an odd integer. Well, and the sum. Okay, so m plus n. Well, if this is odd and this is odd, like 3 plus 5, the sum isn't odd. So just because m is odd doesn't mean that the sum will be odd. So choice A doesn't work. What about choice B? Well, n is odd. Well, okay, so if this is 3 and this is 5, then I still don't get an odd when I add them together. So I'm not guaranteed odd when n is odd. So that doesn't work. What if they're both odd? Well, we just saw 3 plus 5 does not add up to an even number, odd number, even though both of these numbers are odd. So choice C doesn't work. What about both even integers? Okay, so 2 plus 4, does that add up to an odd number? Nope. And by process of elimination, we arrive at K. K is my answer for number 18. 19. 19 says the lengths of the two legs are shown below. Okay, so we know that this is 24 and 32. The midpoint of AB, there's the midpoint. How far is that from A? Okay, well, first I need to find that length. And I can use the Pythagorean theorem, but I notice that this is 4 times 8, and that this is 3 times 8, and I know there's a Pythagorean triple, 3, 4, 5, so I think this will be 5 times 8, or 40. So this side length is 40, and halfway would be 20. So how far is the midpoint from A? It would be 20 units, and that corresponds to choice B. B for number 19. Okay, what about 20? 20 says the length of DE in a triangle. Now, I notice it doesn't say it's a right triangle. It just says it's a triangle. DEF. DE is square root of 39. And the length EF is 3. If it can be determined, what is the length of DF? Well, I don't have an angle. If I did, I could use law of cosines. If it were a right angle, I could use Pythagorean theorem. But I don't have an angle, and I'm trying to find that side, and I can't. So this is K. We can't determine based on the information they've given us. Okay, so what's next? 21. It says Laura plans to paint an 8-foot-high rectangular walls of her room. She needs to know the area of the wall surface to be painted. 2 of the walls are 10 feet wide. And remember, these walls are 8 feet tall. So each of them has an area of 80 square feet. 8 times 10, 80 square feet. Okay, what else does she have? 2 walls are 15 feet wide. Okay, so she's got 15 times 8, which is 120 square feet. And she's got 2 of those walls. And the combined area of the window and door are 60 square feet, and she's not going to paint those. So I've got 2 of the 80s plus 2 of the 120s minus the window and the door. So that's going to be 2 times 200, or 400, and 400 minus 60 is 340 square feet, and that corresponds to choice B. 21 is B. '22. The length of a rectangle is 5 inches longer than the width. The perimeter of the rectangle is 40. Well, we know that perimeter is adding up all the sides. So we have 4w plus 10, and that should equal the perimeter they told us in the problem, 40. So I subtract 10 from both sides. I get 30 equals 4w. I divide by 4, and I get w equals 7.5, which is choice F. 23. 8% of 60 is 1/5 of what number? All right, so that's 0.08 times 60 equals 1/5 x. And I'd like to know what x is. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5, and that'll clear this out, and I'll have x equals 300 times 0.08, 8%. Now, you'll probably pick out a calculator at this point. I'm too lazy. I'm going to write 8% as 8 over 100 and do some canceling. 3 times 8 is 24. And that's choice C for number 23. 24. So many words. All right. Armin is trying to decide whether to buy a season pass for the 20 home games. Cost of an individual ticket is $14. The cost of the season pass is $175. Well, $175 versus 14 per game. If we divide both sides by 14, I end up with a number. What number do I end up with? 175 divided by 14. No, 175 divided by 14 equals 12.5 games. Okay, so if he goes to 12 games at $14 a game, that's $168. So that's not enough games to overcome the cost of the season ticket. But if he goes to 13 games at $14 a game, that's going to be $182. So as long as he goes to at least 13 games in the season, it will be cheaper to buy the season pass, and that's why J is the answer to number 24. 25. 25 is a scientific notation problem. 4.8 times 10 to the negative 7th over 1.6 times 10 to the negative 11th. Okay, so 4.8 divided by 1.6 is 3 times, and when the bases are the same and I'm dividing, I can subtract the exponents. So that's going to be 10 to the negative 7 minus a minus 11, or 3 times 10 to the 4th. That corresponds to choice A. A for number 25. 26. In a circle in the coordinate plane has a center, passes through this point. Line segment AB is the diameter of the circle. What are the coordinates of B? Oh, well, so we know that the center is located here at -1, 2. And we know that there's this point here called 2, 6. And we want to know where this other point B is over here. So we know one endpoint, 2, 6. We know the midpoint, -1, 2, and we're looking for the other endpoint. Well, we've done this a couple of times, since January. 6 minus, how do I go from 6 to 2? I go down 4. So if I want to go from the middle to the other end, I go down 4 again. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. At one end, my x value is 2. The middle x value is negative 1. I must have gone down 3 to go from one end to the middle. So to go from the middle to the other end, I'm going to go down 3 more. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. So I end up with negative 4, negative 4, negative 2, which is choice H for number 26. And again, you may think I'm going at a fast pace here, but I'm averaging about a problem a minute, and that's the pace we need to take when we do the ACT. 27. They present a difference of cubes for us. I wonder what they'll have us do. Which is one of the factors? Oh, well, I need to factor this difference of cubes. It factors as x minus 4, x squared plus 4x plus 16. I see x minus 4 is one of the factors listed. That's choice A. Okay, what about 28? 28 says the average of a list of 4 numbers is 90. Okay. A new list of 4 numbers has the same as the first 3, but the 4th number in the original list is 80, and the 4th number in the new list is 93. What's the average of the new list? Well, I kind of want to say the difference between those two numbers is 16, and I have a total of 4 numbers, so my average is going to go up by 4. But you might want the more cumbersome approach of saying 4 numbers times 90 means the sum is 360. And if I take 80 away from that, I get 280. But then if I add 96 onto that, I get 376. And if I divide the 376 by the 4 numbers, I end up with, oh, I already know that's 96, duh. No, that's not it. Let's divide that by 4. That is what I want to do. 376 divided by 4, I get 94. Originally, our average was 90. So it's gone up by 4. I like the, the difference in the two numbers was 16 divided by 4 numbers approach. But you can do this other way if you want. Either way, 94 is our answer, and therefore H for 28. 29. Okay, which of them represents a squared? If we know that a equals negative 2.5, and we're looking for a squared, when I square negative 2.5, I end up with 25 over 4, or 6 1/4. And that's what I see for choice E. E for 29. 30. 30 has us, the number 1001 is the product of 7, 11, and 13. Knowing this, what is the prime factorization of 30? 0, 3, 0. Well, this number is 30 times this number. So 30 times 7 times 11 times 13. Now, this isn't prime factorization yet, so I'm going to have to split this up. This is 2 times 15, which is 3 times 5. So 2 times 3 times 5 times 7 times 11 times 13. That's the prime factorization of 30,030, and that's why my answer to this problem is choice E. E for number 31. 31. Did we do 30? Oh, that was 31. I need to do 30 still. I'm sorry. 30. She ate 2/9 of the pizza. So 1 pizza minus 2/9 of a pizza leaves 7/9 of the pizza. And she gave the remaining pizza to her brothers. Okay, she had 3 brothers. So 7/9 of a pizza divided by 3 brothers. That's the same as 7/9 times 1/3, or 7/27. And that's choice J for 30. Okay, 32, 33, 34 all deal with this picture, so I think I'm going to start over and draw the picture. And this is a picture of a playground. This says 28 inches, 16 inches, 40 inches, and I don't know how big that is yet, but I'll need it for perimeter. There's a merry-go-round with a radius of 4. There's a slide. There's a climbing structure. And there's a sandbox. Okay. 1 inch equals 1.5 feet. What's the area of the scale drawing? Oh, in inches. Okay, in square inches. Well, in order to find the area, I need to see that this is a trapezoid. And the formula for area of a trapezoid is 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. So 1/2 16 times 28 plus 40. Well, that's going to be 8 times 68. And when I multiplied 8 times 68, I got 544, which is choice G. G for number 32. 33 proposes to install a fence around the perimeter. Well, I know 28 inches. I know 16 inches. But then we've got 40 inches, and I don't know how long this is. Well, if I drew this straight down, this length here would be 28. So I've got 12 for this piece here. And I know that this length here is 16. And I can now use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side, or 3 times 4, 4 times 4, so this is going to be 5 times 4, because this is a 3, 4, 5 right triangle, or 20. So how many total inches do we have? We have 20 inches plus 40 inches plus 28 inches plus 16 inches. 60, 70, 80, 90, 104 inches. But we're asked to find the perimeter in feet. And remember over here, we were told that each inch was 1.5 feet. So 104 inches times 1.5 feet per inch. So inches will cancel, and I'll be taking 104 and multiplying it by 3/2. That's 52 times 3, or 156 feet of fencing. That's choice E. E for number 33. Okay, and 34. The length of the south side of the park is what percent of the length of the north side of the park? The length of the south side is what percent, some number over 100, of the north side. That's how I translate those words. The south side is what percent of times the north side. Okay, so if I multiply both sides by 100, I get 4,000 equals 28x. And if I divide both sides by 28, I get that x equals 142 point, I forget what, but it's 6/7%. And that's choice H for 34. 35, 36, 37 deal with a different picture. So let's draw that picture. Okay, so we've got a house here, and the house has a floor plan. Please note the number of rooms. There's 3 rooms in this house. There's a small window here, a large window here, a small window here, a small window here. This total length is, oh, and then there's the walkway around. This total is 30. This total is 36. Without the walkway, it's 30 feet and 24 feet. So the walkway is adding 3 feet all the way around. All right. Ooh, and there's a thing about rain here, and there's a side elevation. All right, well, let's see what we need. Mr. Smith plans to build a 3-foot walkway around the outside of the cabin as shown. What would be the area in square feet of the top of the walkway? So we're looking for this walkway area. Well, there are a number of difficult ways to do this problem, but I like the easy way, which is the area of the big rectangle minus the area of the small rectangle. The big rectangle is 36 by 30, and the small rectangle is 30 by 24. And to make my life easier, I notice that both of these expressions have a 30 in them, so I'm going to factor that out, leaving me 36 minus 24. 36 minus 24 is 12, is not 12. 6 and 6, it is 12. Oh, yes, it is 12. Times 30 gives me 360 square feet of walkway. And that's choice C. Okay, 36, that was 35. We want 36 now. 36, he'll install a ceiling fan in each room, or she'll install a ceiling fan in each room. There are 3 rooms, and the ceiling fans are costing $52. It's funny, we just had 52 in a previous problem. That's $156 on ceiling fans. The price of curtains for each room with a small window is $39.50. How many small windows did we have? A small one, a small one, a small one. We had 3 of those. And the price of the curtains for a large window is twice that of a small. So L equals 2S. So 2 times $39.50, because we only have 1 large one. So what do we have here? We have 156 for the ceiling fans. We have 3 times $39.50 for the small window curtains. And we have 2 times $39.50 for the large window curtains. Well, that's going to be a total of 5 times $39.50 plus 156. And when I did that on my calculator, I came up with $354, which is choice J. J for number 36. And finally, 37. What's the probability that it will rain both days? Well, we're told under the picture during the week, the Smiths plan to roof the cabin. There's a 20% chance of rain each day. Okay, so 20% chance of rain each day means 20% the first day times the 20% chance the second day. And so we get 0.04 as our answer. And that's choice A for number 37. 37 is A. We multiply those 2 probabilities together. Okay, let's take a look at 38. Which of the following expressions, when evaluated, equals an irrational number? Remember, a rational number is a number that can be expressed as a ratio of two integers. An irrational one is a number that can't. For example, pi or square root of 2. These are irrational and these are rational. Okay, so if I look at the square root of 2 over the square root of 8, that's the square root of 1/4 or 1/2. That's rational. If I look at square root of 8 over 2, that's square root of 4, that's 2, that's rational. Square root of 8 times square root of 8 is 8, that's rational. Square root of 2 times square root of 8 is square root of 2 times 8, or square root of 16, which is 4. That's rational. So by process of elimination, choice K is my answer to problem number 38. 39. A line drawn through the origin shows an acute angle between the line and the positive x-axis has a measure of theta. Okay, well, for the students in trig, this isn't so tough because this is the ordered pair 10, 4. So we know this is the overness, the x amount. This is the upness, the y amount. And tangent, we remember, is opposite over hypotenuse. So for us, that will be 4 over 10 or 2 over 5. And that corresponds to choice D for number 39. 40. 40 says the equation absolute 2x minus 8 plus 3 equals 5 has two solutions. Those solutions are equal to which of the following pairs below? Okay, well, first we need to isolate the absolute value. So we'll have 2x minus 8 equals 2. And when we write the positive component, I'm going to have 2x minus 8 equals 2. And when I write the negative component, I need to change both the signs over here. So I'm going to change the signs on 2x minus 8 equals 2. And I see this is choice K. 41. 41 says there's a frequency chart. Science students' scores fell within certain ranges. All test scores were whole numbers. How many students have a test score 71 to 80? Well, you might be a little frustrated when you then look at the score range and notice there is no 71 to 80 range. But please notice that there is 65 to 70, but there's also 65 to 80. And if we take this group away from this group, the group that's going to be left is 71 to 80. So how many kids were in this group? 13. How many were in this group? 12. So there's only one kid in the group 71 to 80, and that's choice A. Choice A for number 41. Let's take a look at 42. The number in decibels is given by 10 log intensity over K. Where sound I is the sound intensity of the audio source, K is a constant. How many decibels produced by an audio source whose intensity is 1,000 times K? Well, let's replace I in this equation with 1,000 K. So D equals 10 log 1,000 K over K. Well, I can cancel out those K's, and I get D equals 10 log of 1,000. Well, we remember from doing logs that log of 1,000 is log base 10 of 1,000, and that can be written as 10 to the third. Then I can use the power rule to bring that 3 down in front. D equals 3 times 10, or 30, log base 10 of 10. Well, log base 10 of 10 is 1. 1 times 30 is 30. So we're looking at 30 decibels for number 42, and that's choice G. G for 42. How about 43? 43 looks like an expected value problem. How many points did Mario score playing the basketball season? Well, 3/4 of the time, and that was 80 tries, he made 1 point. So that's going to be 60, because we have some canceling here. And he got 60 points, he got 60 points from 1-point free throws. Then he had 2-point field goals. He tried that 60 times, and he was 90% successful there. And those were worth 2 points. So I'm going to do that canceling again. I'm going to get 54 times 2, or 108 points from 2-point throws. And then 3-point throws, he tried those 60 times, but he was only 25%, or 1 in 4 times successful with those. So if I divide here, I get 15 times 3, or 45. So how many total points? Well, we've got 160 plus 40 is 200, and 8 plus 5 is 213 for choice C. Number 44. The graph y equals absolute x minus 6. Which of the following transformations y equals absolute x makes this graph? Oh, well, I hope we all know our transformations well enough to know that inside the function affects x's and inside is opposite lambs, so we're not moving left 6, we're moving right 6 places. And that's choice F. F for number 44. 45 is an old Archimedes problem. Toby wants to find the volume of a solid toy soldier. He fills a rectangular container 8 centimeters long, 6 centimeters wide, 10 centimeters high. 8 by 6. The whole container is 10. 6, 8, 10. With water to a depth of 4. Oh, so he's not filling it all the way. He's only filling it to 4. So what's the volume of the water in here? Well, the volume of that would be length times width times height, or 8 times 6 times 4, which would be 48 times 4, or 192. So we've got 192 cubic centimeters of water. Then we take this toy soldier, and now when we push it in the water raises to a height of 6.6. So this is now 6.6 times 8 times 6. Well, I thought about doing this problem this way rather than computing the 192 because, I was too lazy to pick up the calculator, and I noticed that they both had a 48 in them. So I pulled the 48 out, leaving me 6.6 minus 4. So I have 48 times 2.6, and that corresponds to, what does that correspond to? 48 times 2.6, I get 124.8, and so that's awfully close to 125, which is why choice A was my answer to number 45. Okay, 3/4 of the way through this packet. Let's go. 46. A box in the shape of a cube has an interior side length of 18. Box is occupied by a cylinder filled with packing material. Which of the following numerical expressions gives the number of cubic inches of packing material? All right, well, if the box has a side of 18, we know the volume of the box would be 18 to the third. Now, there's a cylinder in here that we're shipping, and so that's not packing material. The radius of this is 6. The height of this is 12. So what's the volume of the cylinder? Well, we know the formula for volume of a cylinder, I hope, is pi r squared h. Pi 6 squared times 12. And that's our volume of the cylinder. So the volume of the packing material would be the whole cube's volume, 18 to the third, minus pi 6 squared times 12. This corresponds with choice J. J for number 46. 47. A room has a rectangular floor that is 15 feet by 21 feet. 15 by 21. How many square yards? Well, there's two ways to do this problem. We can convert 21 feet into yards. We know that there are 3 feet in every yard. So if I take 21 feet and multiply by yards over 3 feet, I end up with 7 yards. So this is 7 yards. This ends up being 5 yards. And I end up with 5 times 7, or 35 square yards. That corresponds with choice B. You could also do 15 times 21 and come up with 315 square feet. And how many square feet are in a square yard? Well, there's 3 feet by 3 feet in my square yard. So there's 9 square feet in a square yard. So if I take the 315 square feet and I multiply by square yards over 9 square feet, I'll end up with, what did I end up with? 35 square yards. And again, that's choice B for 47. 48. ABC cab, Terry taxi cabs, both have an initial fare, a whole number of dollars for one passenger. The fare increases a whole number of dollars for each whole number of miles traveled. The graph shows trips up to 6 miles. The fares of the two cab companies are compared. Which is the cheaper fare at 5 miles? Well, at 5 miles, this cab company is going to charge me $8. And at 5 miles, this cab company is going to charge me $12. Terry Cab has the cheaper one at, that line, $9. So G for number 48. G. 49. 49 says the graph of the function consists of 3 line segments. Okay. We've got this piece, we've got a flat piece, and we've got this piece. This is the point 2, 3. This is the point 3, 3. This is the point 5, 0. We'd like to know the area under the curve. Well, I see 3 shapes here. I see a triangle. I know the height of this triangle is 3. And I know the width of the triangle is 5 minus 3, the difference in these x values, or 2. So the area of the triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. which ends up being 3. Now, what about the area of the middle rectangle? Well, this rectangle has a height of 3. And what about the base? Well, the base goes from 3 to 2, so the width is 1. So the area here is 3 times 1, or 3. And then we have a trapezoid. We just did an area of a trapezoid problem. We remember that the formula is 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. Well, here's the height, here's base 1, here's base 2. We know that base 2 is a height of 3, or is a length of 3. What about base 1? Well, from the picture, I see that the value here is 4. And the height is this distance, which is that x value. So I've got 1/2, 2, 4 plus 3, or 7. 7 plus 3 plus 3 is 13, which is why B is my answer to 49. 50. Well, I have a little note next to problem number 50, says that this one is tough. Maybe we want to skip it. Oh, I remember this one. Oh my God. It's really kind of horrible, even with a graphing calculator in your hand. I'll walk you briefly through it just to settle idle curiosity. The sum of two positive numbers is 151. The lesser number, let's call that x, is 19 more than the square root of the greater number. Okay. And we want to know what's the value of the greater number minus the lesser number. So most people do substitution, and they have 19 plus root y plus y equals 151. And they subtract 19, and they get y plus root y equals 132. Now, how do we go about solving this equation? Well, you can do all kinds of things, like subtract y from both sides, and then square both sides to get rid of the radical. You get y equals 132 squared minus 264y plus y squared, and then you could subtract another y from both sides. And you get 132 squared minus 265y plus y squared. And then you're going to use the quadratic formula on that. Ew. So I recommend, at this point, solving this graphically. I would type in y1, x plus square root of x. In y2, I would type in 132. Now, this will not show up on a standard viewing window. So I went over to my table and I plugged in some values, and I ended up graphing, and I found the point of intersection to be at x equals 121. And since the x value in what I typed in was really the y value over here, I knew that y was 121, and the square root of y was 11. And remember, we said that the smaller number was 19 more than the square root of y, so 19 plus 11 is 30. And we're still not done, because they wanted y minus x, which is 121 minus 30, or 91. No, really, I'd probably run away when I got to here and say, I'll come back to this one later, because that takes a lot of time. Okay, 50. 51. 51 says you've got some numbers. The numbers are 41, 35, 30, x, y, and 15. Okay, it says the median is 25, so when we take these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers and put them in a row, the number in the middle of those 6 numbers, so between x and 30, should be 25. hey, look at that. If this number is 25, and the distance from this side to the middle is 5, then the distance from the middle to this side must also be 5. I went down 5, I'll go down 5 more, so x must be 20. I wonder if we can find out anything about y. Well, it says here that the mode of the numbers is 15. Well, I have each of these numbers once, and then I have a y. If the mode is 15 and the mode is the number that occurs most frequently, then y has to be 15. Okay. To the nearest number, what's the mean of the list? So let's add up these numbers. 41 plus 35 is 76. 20 plus 30 is 50, and 15 plus 15 is 30. So I get 156 divided by 6 numbers. That goes in twice. With 36 left, 26, and that's choice C for number 51. 52. You're given the following system: y equals x squared, and rx plus sy equals t. For which of the following, r, s, and t are integers, for which of the following will there be more than one solution? Well, if I replace y with x squared, I'm going to have rx plus sx squared equals t. This is a quadratic now. Let's put it in descending order, and let's move this t over. Don't forget to subtract it from both sides. Sx squared minus rx, plus rx minus t equals 0. Okay, so here's this quadratic formula, and they say real numbers. For which of the following will there be more than one real solution? Well, you should remember the discriminant test from Algebra 2, which said that if you look at the stuff under the radical in the quadratic formula, this b squared minus 4ac, where this is b, this is a, and this is c, if you look at this, when this relationship is greater than 0, then you have two solutions. So, which is also more than one. So our b value is r, our a value is s, and our t and our c value is negative t. And so negative times negative is positive. R squared plus 4st is greater than 0. So this corresponds to choice F. If I don't know the discriminant test, I'm probably walking away from this problem right away quick. 53. The third and fourth terms of an arithmetic sequence are 13 and 18. What is the 50th term? Well, we could do this like one of the pattern problems we did recently. The third term is 13. The fourth term is 18. This went up by 5. In an arithmetic sequence, they always go up by the same amount. So what am I supposed to do with that common difference, that amount that I went up with? Well, I'm supposed to multiply the variable by that amount that I went up with. Now, if I plug in a 3 here, 3 times 5 is 15, but I need 13. So I have to add or subtract to make that work. 5n minus 2. Let's try 4 to confirm that our rule here gives us 18. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 2 is 18. Good. So here's our rule, and they want us to use this rule to figure out the value of the 50th term. 5 times 50 minus 2. 250 minus 2 is 248. And that's choice A. A for number 53. 54. Well, luckily the trig students have been paying attention to their Pythagorean identities. And so they know that sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. So we're asked here which of these is the graph of y equals 1 on the domain negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. To me, I see h is the only linear equation. So h is y equals 1. That's the answer to my question number 54. Okay, last page, number 55. What is the period of the function cosecant for x? Well, we know that cosecant has normally a period of 2 pi, and we can use the formula 2 pi over b to find the period. 2 pi over our b value of 4 gives us pi over 2 for a period. That's choice E for number 55. 56. Okay. There it is. 56. So I started by making a little tree diagram of heads and tails here for each of the coins being tossed. There's the first coin tossed. Here's the second coin tossed. And here's the third coin tossed. All right, and it says total number of points awarded in any toss. What's the expected value of x? Well, we know that we have a 50% chance of heads or tails each time. Okay, and so what's the chance of all heads? Well, it's 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2, or 1/8. And how many points do I get for 3 heads? Well, I get 3 points for each head. 3 heads would be 3 times 3, or 9. So 9 points, my chance of getting 9 points is only 1/8. What about the chance of 2 heads? Well, let's count the 2 heads paths. I've got a path with 2 heads here, and another path with 1, 2 heads here, and then I see this path with 2 heads. So there are 3 paths where there are 2 heads, and the probability of, so that's a 3 in 8 chance, because I've got 3 out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 of the paths out of the total of 8 give me 2 heads times 2 heads, 2 times 3, 6 points each. And then we've got 1 head. Well, how many paths have 1 head? There's head, tail, tail. That's 1 path. And we've got tail, head, tail. And then we've got tail, tail, head. So there's 3 of those 8 paths, which will only get me 3 points. And finally, there's 1 path here, a 1 in 8 chance of getting no points. So we're adding up 1/8 times 9, plus 3/8 times 6, plus 3/8 times 3, plus 0. Okay, I'm going to factor out the 1/8 to make my life a little easier. I'm going to have 9 plus 18 plus 9 plus 0. That's 36 over 8. I can divide 4 into each of those, which gives me 9 over 2, or 4.5 points, and that's choice H. H was my expected value in 56. Okay. 57. For what positive real values of k is the determinant of k, 4, 3, k equal to k? Well, remember the determinant, and they tell us here the determinant is this times this minus this times this. And we want to know when this determinant is equal to k. Well, I see a quadratic equation, so I'm going to push everything onto one side and factor k minus 4, k plus 3. I see k equals 4 and negative 3. But I notice in the problem it says for what positive real value of k. So k can't be negative 3. K has to be 4. And so my answer is B for number 57. 58. Oh, well, we talked about this in our class, and I'm sure you did it in Algebra 2. We know that when you want to figure out something like I to the 48th, the pattern of i's, I squared is negative 1, I to the third is negative I to the fourth is 1, that this pattern repeats every 4. So I to the fifth is negative 1. Oh, I to the fifth is I to the sixth is negative 1, I to the seventh is negative I, and I to the eighth is 1 again. And so we said, well, if we divide this power by 4 and look at the remainders, we'll know the value. So when I divide by 4, if I have a remainder of 1, my answer is I. If I have a remainder of 2, my answer is negative 1. If I have a remainder of 3, negative I. And if I have a remainder of 0, the value is 1. Okay, let's see what this question says. Which of the following statements about n must be true? When n is divided by 4, the remainder is 0. And what do we know? We know I to the n equals 1. Well, that happens when the remainder is 0. So that's choice F. F for number 48. I'm sorry, 58. 59 says absolute value of sine is greater than 1? Oh, greater than or equal to. We know sine is never greater than 1, but sine could be equal to 1. Let's take a look at what the absolute value of the sine graph would look like. Sine normally starts on the midline, goes up to its high, down to its low, and back up again. So this is sine graph. But if we're looking at absolute value of sine, all these negative bits get flipped up. So this is the graph of absolute value of sine. And they say where on negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2, we don't need any of the rest of the graph, where between negative pi over 2 and positive pi over 2 is this graph greater than 1, never, equal to 1, oh, here and here. So that corresponds with choice A. Choice A for number 59. Our last problem, problem number 60, says ray PK bisects LPM. LPM, ray PK. Bisects means cuts into 2 equal pieces. The measure of LPM, this whole thing, is 11x. The measure of LPK, this angle here, in our last problem, is 4x plus 18. What is the value of KPM? Well, if I can find out what this angle is, I know this angle is the same. So let's find out. Okay, we know 4x plus 18. And we know these 2 pieces add up to 11x. So 4x plus 18 plus another 4x plus 18 should add up to 11x. We get 8x plus 36 is 11x. When we subtract 8x from both sides, we get 36 equals 3x, or x equals 12. Now, plug this back in to our 4x plus 18, and we get 48 plus 18, or 66 degrees, and that's choice K for problem number 60. Okie doke. I hope this was helpful. I look forward to your presentations. It's been exciting watching you improve as time goes by your scores on these practice ACT tests. Thanks for taking them seriously. Take care.